I would like to say a couple of things around and the moments after death and right at death, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. Please do.
So, one of my patients, Mr. A, was going to be transitioning, and I didn't want to leave him alone. He was one of my first patients. I still had this misconception that I needed to be present for the last breath, and that's really not the case. And I could go on about that for anybody who feels guilty in any way for not being present at the last breath of their loved one, but you do not need to be. You can be across the world. Time and space does not really matter in that way. But I was nervous about leaving him, and my team in spirit said, why don't you write him a love letter? And I didn't know exactly what that meant, but I'm a very visual person. So I closed my eyes and I imagined this space that I knew Mr. A would love, a waterfall, lush greenery, everything that we had talked about from some of his favorite places that he'd traveled to outside of India. And so I imagined that, and I just filled myself up with so much love that I had for him. And my intention was just to fill it with all the beautiful things that I wanted him to experience: joy, love, gratitude, all of it. And I just kind of infused it into that image that I was thinking in that moment. And I left it there in time and space for him, and my team in spirit assured me that he would receive it when he transitioned. It would just be left there for him to have that experience. And he did not end up transitioning then. It turned out it was going to be another couple of years. He was on hospice for 5 years. He was one of my longest patients. He's fantastic. But these love letters have been an important part of what I do all the time now. If I see someone on a bicycle that really is struggling to get up that hill, I send them a love letter. It only takes a few seconds. If I see an ambulance going by, I send a love letter to the person inside or who's about to be inside. Any of those things, anything that crosses my mind, I've left a love letter for every one of my family members. For my friends, I'm leaving love letters all over time and space. I'm just cluttering it all up out there. But they made me feel like, and I don't understand this part, that when our loved ones receive that love letter, that it actually lifts them in spirit somehow. And I don't understand what the lifting is. That was the feeling that they made me have. But I'm going with it. I'm like, okay, it's going to lift them somehow. So that's part of my intention. And in addition to that, I would like to add that in almost every case that I have been a part of, when the person takes their last breath, they are not in their bodies. They're actually standing outside their body, watching their body take the last breath, observing from a different plane. And the reason that this is important is because when people are watching their loved one die, the body's going through its natural process of shutting down. Our human side can look at that body and think that body is suffering. That body is struggling to take that last breath. You can hear the crackling in the breath, and it can be very unsettling at times.
Mm.
So the reality is, though, your loved one is standing outside their body. And this kind of experience is supported by a lot of NDEers when they're like, oh, I was at the roof of the hospital while they're doing CPR on me. I wasn't you don't have to be present for that moment of suffering or that hard part of having your ribs cracked through CPR and having the heart pumped so hard. And you go back in afterwards. And in my cases, though, these patients don't go back in. They go ahead and go on to their welcome home party.
Mm.
But I just thought maybe it would be important to remind people that even though you're perceiving suffering, the body itself is going through its process of shutting down, but the patient, your loved one, is standing outside observing with you.